Hi, my name is Vena. I'm originally from Rio, but I live in Nandi. I love listening to Today FM. Today FM rocks.
Bula, I'm John from Cornabuan, Tapua. I love listening to Today FM. It rocks.
Bula, I'm Teopola.
Bula, I'm Makanisi.
We love listening to Today FM because it rocks in Ba.
Bula, my name is Tisa. I've been listening to Today FM.
Today's hit music on Today FM.
Tonight, Fiji commemorates Winston anniversary. Families speak of cyclone heartache. And Ba residents still reeling a year on.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Spate.
Fiji will never forget the lives lost during Tropical Cyclone Winston. President Major General retired Chiochi Konrote says the devastation caused by the Category 5 cyclone will be a source of strength and resilience against climate change.
12 months to the day and the memories of destruction have not waned, more so for those who lost family members.
As one, we embrace you. As one, we extend to you our hand of comfort, as well as our deepest condolences.
40,000 homes destroyed, 490 schools damaged, and the total loss to the economy at $1.9 billion. President Konrote says the response in the days after the cyclone, both locally and abroad, was overwhelming. Now the attention turns to the fight against climate change.
Fiji intends to do everything in its power to persuade the global community to tackle the root cause of extreme weather events such as Winston that are causing so much pain for our people and the citizens of other vulnerable nations around the world.
We moved on, many things taking place. The rebuilding of schools, the homes. Children are back to school now.
As a nation, we are on our feet and we are ready we are stronger than Winston.
Tropical Cyclone Winston will live on in memory as the worst natural disaster to hit Fiji, but with it will come stories of resilience and fortitude in the most trying circumstances. Edwin Nand, FBC News.
Edwin Nand is standing by live. Edwin, there were some notable absentees at today's Thanksgiving ceremony.
You're right, Jackie. None of the opposition members of parliament turned up at the commemoration at Albert Park today. The Social Democratic Liberal Party deliberately avoided the event, and leader Sitiveni Rambuka is asking actually why there was a commemoration in the first place, given that people are still living in tents. Rambuka says it's not customary in Fiji to have a national commemorative service and that it's inappropriate given the situation on the ground. National Federation Party leader Professor Biman Prasad was at a funeral.
Thanks so much for that, Edwin. The families of the 44 victims who lost their lives in Tropical Cyclone Winston could not hold back their tears as names of their dear ones were called out at the commemoration ceremony today. FBC News spoke to a few of the families who say they still speak of their loved ones and the cyclone's devastation. Kelly Vadala reports.
It's a day that every Fijian will remember, a day that the families of those who died during Cyclone Winston won't forget.
Now 1 year since Winston, and I will never forget my husband who died during the disaster because he was our breadwinner and we all relied on him. I still can't stop crying because I keep having flashbacks, and it still hurts me till today that I couldn't save him. I miss him very much.
The names of the 44 victims were read out this morning, followed by a minute of silence as a sign of respect. Loata Vosaniavu lost her dad to Winston. She says the many plans they had together as a family were ruined when her father was taken away unexpectedly.
I just want to tell how much I miss my dad, for who he is and who he was. I think he was trying his best to even fight for his own life, but it was unfortunate that nature has happened and it's taken away his life.
Tomumbada lost his sister in Koro. He says he did all he could to save her, but it was just impossible to fight against the strong winds and waves that day.
My elder sister was taken by Winston. She was old, and at the time, I can remember it was the strong winds that blew her all the way outside the house, and she was hit by a lot of flying debris and died.
For most of these families, the memory of losing their loved ones will take time to sink in, as the events of what happened that day still remains fresh in their minds. Most of them have said that time is their only healer. Kelly Vadala, FBC News.
Being part of today's memorial service for the people of Koro is a time to reminisce about the tragedy of Tropical Cyclone Winston last year. Most have struggled to put their feelings into words, while others wish it was only a bad dream. Sainiani Mboila has more.
Koro Islander Milika Mbambo says the thoughts and struggle of losing everything are still fresh in her mind as we commemorate 1 year since Tropical Cyclone Winston struck our nation.
Singa dendrevi au mona vamalaltaka na kiano ngore dirto nango ane nirto sa kito sa mendurtu ngabango kanandona la manivale sa nanito bala sa senga nanito bala kito sa ngilako.
Mbambo says while it's been a year now, they still struggle to move on with their lives. For Ifiremi Naivalu, assistance from government and non-government stakeholders was a great help.
Ndesar ki mastaba na lenbo no mekoro sabu ko na wan bi usaki sto sarabo lebu na ndendre lebu na lo manimbula tukina kimba na kana matentu na buna na wena numi total lebengarabi tambanimbula.
A year after Tropical Cyclone Winston struck Koro, the people of Koro are mapping out ways to move forward in restoring lives. They've had to endure tough times, but say they will fight on to put their lives back on track. Sainiani Mboila, ABC News.
Members of Parliament and various dignitaries made time today to honour those who lost their lives and those who are still trying to get back on their feet 1 year after Cyclone Winston. For many of them, it was a time to reflect on how far Fijians have progressed since the 20th of February last year. Ana Ravulo tells us more.
The commemoration ceremony at the Albert Park brought a lot of people together in a special kind of way.
The intention of government to do this occasion was specifically to honor those who died, and also to acknowledge and to recognize the various communities that were actually affected.
The British High Commissioner and the US Ambassador to Fiji said it was appropriate to mark the occasion.
So today's commemoration was entirely appropriate and a solemn event, as would be expected for the scale of the disaster that hit Fiji.
I thought it was a lovely commemoration, very dignified, of course very sad. I mean, it's so difficult to hear the names of those who perished and not to be very, very sad, but at the same time I think we all take great heart in the spirit of the people of Fiji and the way everybody came together.
Nearly all ministers were present here today, taking the time to remember those who lost their lives last year. However, there was no member from opposition present. Ana Ravulo, FBC News.
A few families in the settlement of Tukuraki Ba tell an incredible story of survival when Tropical Cyclone Winston ripped through their community last year, destroying homes and plantations. Ellen Stolz reports on the hardships residents suffered through to survive the horrific ordeal.
39-year-old Alessi Nasinga lives on this hillside in Tukuraki, which is an hour-and-a-half drive through rugged terrain from Ba. Mighty winds blew the roof off her home, forcing her family to take shelter under their bed that fateful night.
My heart is not at ease because the painful memories of that day is still fresh in my mind.
In a desperate attempt to save themselves, some weathered the storm in a nearby cave. 65-year-old Kini Botitu took us to the cave where 5 families huddled together to stay alive.
The winds were terrifying. It was worse than Cyclone Bibi. Most of our homes were destroyed, so while we rebuilt them, we had no choice but to stay here.
For 2 whole weeks, men, women and children call this cave home. Some nights lying side by side to keep warm, staying far away from the cold and strong winds that Tropical Cyclone Winston brought. Anna Matalau and her 2 sons were amongst those in the cave. She says it was a frightening experience.
When the strong winds began to take our house, we fled to the hills with our tarpaulins and blankets to keep the children warm.
The last 12 months have seen these people gather their belongings and rebuild their homes, but they still live with memories of the traumatizing experience. No one in their community will forget. Ellen Stalls, FBC News.
Still ahead, fake doctor has court case moved. And family farewells Nakasi teenager.
मेरा नाम कमल रोशनी है। हम लोगों में रहते हैं और मिर्ची एफएम सबसे बेस्ट स्टेशन है।
हमारा नाम मेसी है, हम गोल्ड टाउन ताफुआ में रहता है और मिर्ची इज हॉट इन ताफुआ।
Hi, we Bagels. We love Mirchi FM because it's hot.
निवेश तमराव में रहता हूँ, सुनता है यहाँ मिर्ची एफएम is very hot.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
The case of a 53-year-old man who allegedly abducted 2 girls earlier this month will be called in the Suva Magistrates Court tomorrow. Paramveer Maharaj was supposed to appear in the Nasinu Magistrates Court. However, his case was transferred to Suva due to the unavailability of the magistrate. Maharaj is charged with use of certain titles or descriptions prohibited, impersonating public officers, abduction of young persons, punishment for wrongful confinement, and trafficking in obscene publications, as well as indecently insulting or annoying any person. More than 100 people paid their last respects to 18-year-old Vikrant Nand today, who died in police custody last Thursday night. Eldest in the family of 3, Nand was taken in on Wednesday by police for allegedly breaching a domestic violence restraining order and assault. On the second night of his detainment, police officers found Nand lifeless in the cell. Nand, who is survived by his parents and 2 siblings, was cremated at the Wainimbuku crematorium today. Nand's mother, Ashwini Lata, told FBC News that police have informed them of the cause of death. She claims they have been told that Nand died due to suffocation. Meanwhile, police spokesperson Ananai Soro earlier said they will only comment once investigations are fully complete. A pearl farmer and a tourism operator in Taveuni have established a giant clam hatchery that is helping the locals create their own businesses. Eleanor Tarangaivu reports they are progressively expanding the business as the returns are massive.
One man's love for aquaculture and another man's desire to create a business to fall back on should his pearl farm suffer a setback has led to the creation of this giant clam hatchery.
4 years ago, there was a bit of a small disease outbreak for pearl oyster in Fiji, and it sung the bell with us to maybe think about a second commodity for us. And there's another businessman here, the Douglas family from Matangi Island, who have the same longing to do aquaculture for many, many years. So we've decided to join force and build a hatchery together. Our first commodity will be giant clam.
This is the smaller nursery located in Gamea, the larger located on the other side of the island. To be able to set up this business, Noel Douglas, the owner of Matangi Island Resort, and pearl farmer Claude Prevost sought approval from the Vonua or Lodhala Trust, made up of Ngolingoli owners from Lodhala, Gamea and Nangele Levu.
They really told us that they didn't want money, but they wanted to do business themselves also for aquaculture. So what we proposed to them is that we would give them 10% of our seedlings, and they could grow themselves their shells, and they could resell it back to our company or use them to their own purpose.
Douglas and Prevost admit it's not easy work raising giant clams. However, they have long-term plans for the business.
We see 3 phases of selling the product: at early stage for reef rehabilitation, at medium stage for food market, and for bigger shells for the export market. And for us, we'll be churning babies out of the hatchery continuously. So as long as people want to farm them, we will be producing little ones.
The duo, who now call Fiji their home, believe the aquaculture industry has the potential to produce millions of dollars, but it will take a lot of hard work patience, and a lot of money. Eleanor Turangivio, FBC News.
Rachel is here now with the very latest from the world of business.
Good evening. Coming up in business tonight, FIRCA talks about revenue collections. And later on in growing Fiji, Navasar residents get water supply.
And later on in sports, Jamie will have the very latest from here and abroad.
Well, what they Tarokuta, my Honokula and Rasa Lutoka, Duba Talita Canavarro on a radio Fiji one.
Bulan Arango Fina, my Corviri Nandi, Auto Talitaka Navarro and a radio Fiji one, na programa ni Masmasu and Mataklai.
Oya Ochone Kurinambila, my Bunanguru, Namakete Hinga Toka, do Talitakina Navarro on a radio Fiji one, Gena and Domoiviti.
Na radio Fiji one, Nandomoiviti in Vonga and Nibianan.
In business tonight, the Revenue and Customs Authority so far has 50% of the forecasted revenue collection for this year. Chief Executive Vishwanath thus confirmed last night on FBC TV's For the Record program that taxes paid by most Fijians has contributed to the revenue collections, which was sourced from government initiatives such as education, student loans, free medical and infrastructure. Das also says despite the impact caused by Tropical Cyclone Winston on the Fijian economy, tax revenue is still growing.
Initially, after the impacts assessment and all those, in a way, sort of worried about the revenue having the 2016-2017 budget target set at 2.67 billion. At this stage, 6 months into this financial year, we are doing, I would say, quite well.
There's some interesting trading on the South Pacific Stock Exchange last week. Elizabeth from HFC Bank brings us the update.
Yes, it was interesting because while trading activities on the SPSC platform remained slower than the previous week, there was an overall gain in the market. Amalgamated Telecom Holdings Limited shares gained a further 1 cent and concluded the week at a new all-time high share price of $1.29. Consequent to the share price gain recorded by ATH, the overall market capitalization increased by 0.32% and concluded at a value of $1.34 billion. Similarly, on the look back of the ATH positive price return, there was a dividend return of 1.53% generated by shares in the supermarket chain RB Patel Group Limited. So despite slower trading, the SPSC Total Return Index posted a gain for the week of 0.43% to conclude at a value of 3,216.09. And that's a wrap from a local stock market, Rachel.
Thanks, Elizabeth. On to today's exchange rate. The Chinese yuan dropped to close at $3.26 and the US dollar followed a similar trend, closing at 47 cents. An increase in the Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar as it rose to close at 61 cents and 65 cents respectively, while the PNG Kina dropped to close at $1.29. Onto the commodities market, oil dropped slightly by 3 cents to close at $53.40 a barrel, while gold rose to close at $1,241 an ounce, and silver was down, closing in at $17.97 an ounce. In growing Fiji tonight, 132 residents of Umbrella Settlement in Navasar will now have regular water supply. This follows after Water Authority of Fiji and the Umbrella Settlement constructed the community's first dam. The project cost amounted to over $200,000. Through this initiative, the villagers also receive employment. While commissioning the opening, Chief Executive Opitai Ravai handed over a financial reward of over $6,000 to the village.
Where we can get clean drinking water for the people, especially in the rural communities. And it's a great day of celebration for the people in Umbrella who waited for so long for a system that is sustainable for their community.
That's it from Business Tonight. Sports is up next, and here's Jamie with the latest.
Thank you, Rachel, and good evening in Sports Tonight.
Las Vegas tournament could be do or die for Fiji Sevens title defense. And Fiji Under-17 football side miss out on World Cup qualification. This and more coming up.
Bulavinaka, I'm Andrea Sorbakroa of Nayabu Wendibuga Televu. Whenever I want to tune in to listen to great music, I always tune in to my favorite radio station, Gold FM, only the classic.
My name is Lita. We love listening to Gold FM here at the Fiji Hideaway Resort and Spa. Gold FM, only the classic hits.
We here at Tano Waterfront Lautoka love listening to Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
The Las Vegas Sevens could be the last opportunity for the Vodafone Fiji Sevens side to keep afloat its hopes of defending its World Series title. After 4 tournaments, the side is still chasing its first cup win, but coaching staff believe if they stick to what they practice, things should fall into place. Rohit Deo has more.
Pressure is on the Fiji Sevens side as fans still wait for a tournament win in the new season, but the side has believed it will all change soon.
We'll stick to our plan and do much the same and coach the way that Nathra and I coach and make sure the players stay with discipline in the way they should and the players manage themselves as they normally do, and that leads us into tournament. We don't change anything when we get into tournament. We try and just stay with the same habits that we create on a training field and around here in Uprising. So that's exactly what we'll do.
Trainer Nathaniel Imbuka is one of the most experienced of the coaching panel and knows the importance of the next leg, which may have a huge say in deciding the series.
And it's a tournament that's going to be, breaking point really for us in terms of defining the series. But for us, we'll have to look at our processes, getting our little things right, and just making sure that the players are individually ready to put in a collective team effort that will help us.
The Las Vegas Sevens will be played from next week Saturday. Fiji is pooled with Australia, Scotland and Japan for the tournament, and we take on the Japanese in our first pool match at 12:09 p.m. Saturday week. Rohit Deo, FBC Sports.
The Fiji football under-17s dream of qualifying for the World Cup were dashed yesterday when they were bundled out in the pool stages of the Oceania Championships in Tahiti. The Shalen Lal coach side needed at least a draw against New Zealand to progress to the next stage, but were thumped 5-0. Rohit Deo with the story.
There were high hopes from this Fijian team, but New Zealand didn't take long to bring us back to reality as they scored 2 goals in the first spell. Fiji had its chances, but the strong New Zealand defenders were asking a bit too much of our strikers. New Zealand scored 3 more goals in the second half for an easy win. Fiji coach Shalen Lal says his team did their best but lost hope after 2 goals.
I guess we performed well in the first half, and maybe these young boys, they lost hope after the 3rd goal, but then again it's total football. We know we have lost to a better team.
Lal's New Zealand counterpart was glad that his team bounced back after a close 2-1 win over the Solomon Islands 2 days earlier.
I'm pleased with the performance. I think we needed to bounce back after the way we played against the Solomon Islands. There were a few aspects that we weren't all that pleased with, but a good professional performance I think is probably the best way to describe it.
So the dreams of playing in our first Under-17 World Cup will not be achieved for at least the next 2 years. It is back to the drawing boards for all age group teams to map out plans so that we can make it out of the region to future World Cups. Rohit Deo, FBC Sports.
Meanwhile, the Fiji national football side has dropped 2 spots in the latest FIFA World Rankings. Fiji is now ranked 181st in the world. New Zealand is the highest ranked team in Oceania on 111, followed by Tahiti on 148th. New Caledonia is ranked 169th, while Papua New Guinea is 172nd. Meanwhile, Fiji will host New Zealand on the 25th of next month in the Stage 3 World Cup qualifier. Fiji's chances of qualifying to the last 16 stage of the Rollball World Cup look slim after going down to host Bangladesh 9-0 in its 3rd match. The team will need to win its last 2 matches to have any chance of qualifying. Fiji had earlier held Hong Kong to a 1-1 draw and had a close outing against Myanmar, losing 1-0. The start of the Super Rugby season can't seem to come soon enough for Chiefs flanker Mitch Kapek. This time last year, a knee injury ended Kapek's season before it even started. Chelsea has been drawn to play Manchester United in the FA Cup quarter-final. Meanwhile, Tottenham Hotspurs eased past Fulham 3-0 in the last 16 stage today, thanks to a hat-trick from striker Harry Kane. That's it from sports. Up ahead, weather with Angie. And in our new media segment, find out what mobile tech giants will be unveiling at the 2017 Mobile World Congress. That's coming up.
Bula FM number 2 en seri.
We're just a week away from the 2017 Mobile World Congress. Every year in February, technology companies from around the globe showcase their latest smartphones, tablets, and wearable gadgets. And it's time to find out what's new on the weather front with Angie.
Hello there. Well, today and over the weekend we had few showers, but sun made its way this morning, making conditions a bit warm. A couple of tropical disturbances are lingering nearby us, named as TD12F and TD14F. Any chance of them forming a cyclone is low. In the west, I guess the sun distributed equal heat in the major centers because all the centers recorded 32 degrees. Eastwards from Peghaberasuva, it was mostly cloudy but warm. Expect rain later tonight. A note to our lovely tourists, if you are visiting our shows, then ensure to make the most of our weather. Get out there in the warm Fiji rain and take a rain bath. Up north, Lambasa got its heat back after experiencing a drop in temperatures for the past few days. It was at 33 degrees while Sabu Sabu was 2 degrees lower at 31. Tomorrow, yup, it's all rain again. The north can expect early morning showers which will slow for a bit but will continue throughout the day, while the east will experience light patchy rain. Tomorrow's temps, Nandi and Lautoka are looking hot tomorrow, with highs of 31 and lows of 24, while this is surprising again, Ba will have a low of 21. Looking further on to Wednesday, all this rain will ease, giving us a fair weather here in the eastern areas. But as we get into the evening period, rain greets us and the northern division as well. At sea, northwest winds 25 to 30 knots, gusting to 40 knots, rough to very rough seas. Not a good day at all for going out to the sea. And if you're wondering about the tides, the next low tide tonight is at 8:28, followed by a high tide tomorrow morning at 2:36. So Jackie, don't forget your umbrella tomorrow.
I definitely won't. Thanks so much for that, Angie. In our Fijian Pulse segment tonight, we ask, have we moved on from the devastation of Tropical Cyclone Winston?
Everything is going smoothly in Navangakoro, especially the rebuilding of homes. People started building their houses as soon as they received their building materials.
People have started rebuilding their lives. They're helping each other in this regard.
After the windstorm that happened last year, Fiji has moved on from the devastation.
We haven't moved on, especially the people back in Coral Island. And there's still a lot left to be done, especially with the school, they're still intent.
Recapping the main stories, Fiji commemorates Winston anniversary. Families speak of cyclone heartache, and Ba residents still reeling a year on. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM, to our poll question. And first, the results from last week's poll question. We asked, has Gareth Faber impressed in his first two outings as Fiji Sevens coach? 71% replied no. This week we are asking, are the big nations doing enough in the fight against climate change? Visit our FPC website to answer. Before we go, today's shot of the day, this sent in by Jim Wilson of the sunset at Mana Island. As seen with earphones, it's time to take in the beautiful Fijian sunset and listen to some great island music. Send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via Facebook page FBC News. And if you're on Twitter, you can follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC_news or simply hashtag FBC News. Until next time, from the team and I, good night.
I'm Andrea Sorbakroa of Nayabu Wendibuka Telebu. Whenever I want to tune in to listen to great music, I always tune in to my favorite radio station, Gold FM, only the classic.
My name is Lita. We love listening to Gold FM here at the Fiji Hideaway Resort and Spa. Gold FM, only the classic hits.
We here at Tano Waterfront Lautoka love listening to Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.